Kevin Guthrie, our Division of Emergency Management Director, Adjutant General of Florida National Guard Major General Haas. We have Columbia County Emergency Management Director Shane Morgan, Sheriff Mark Hunter from Columbia County, and Representative Chuck Brannan. This storm is going to impact inland counties, and particularly in northern Florida, you are going to see significant impacts. You know, the contours of that will obviously be determined by the exact path of the storm, but I think you're doing the right thing to be prepared. So we're talking about counties like Columbia, we're talking about counties like Hamilton, Madison. All those counties are going to be affected by Hurricane Idalia. We are monitoring some of these computer models. You may see the National Hurricane Center update the track in either 2 o'clock or the 5 o'clock advisory. There are models suggesting that this is going to take more of a westward shift that could bring it into areas like Jefferson and Leon and Wakulla area even. And people have known that this is a possibility, and I know all those counties are making preparations, but that is something to look out for. There's still a range of uncertainty here. They're going to be updating this track as the day goes on, and we will have probably better resolution on that as we get to the 2 or the 5 o'clock advisory. But that is a possibility. We've been in contact with all the local officials in all these areas, and I know people have been making preparations. So continue to do that. The state is already starting to feel some effects of this in the southern part of the state. You're going to start to feel some effects of it in the northern part of the state, probably later tonight, the beginning of tomorrow morning. We have expanded our executive order this morning. We now have 49 counties total. We've added Brevard, Orange, and Osceola counties, and so, you know, pretty much that top of the state all the way into central Florida, maybe excluding some of the farther western panhandle counties, but there's a huge number of counties that are going to feel impacts from this, and we want to make sure they're able to do what they need to do. We're proud of all the staging that's been done, particularly for power restoration. We're now at over 25,000 linemen as of this morning. That is going to be over 30,000, approaching 40,000 by the end of today. And the goal is when the power, and you are going to lose power if you're in the path of this storm, you should assume that that's going to happen. And the goal is going to be rapid restoration of power. Some of the parts where this storm is projected to go are a lot of trees. There's going to be a lot of branches, a lot of trees. There's going to be a lot of power lines down. Just expect that. There's a lot of manpower that's going to go to address it, but it's definitely going to be something that is going to require a lot of manpower and a lot of attention. So power restoration is something that is very, very important, and we want to thank all the utilities that have marshaled. We've got people coming from southeastern states. We've got people coming from Nebraska coming to Florida to be ready to go to restore power here in the state of Florida, and we think that's important. The local municipalities that have utilities, some of the electric co-ops, all those, please accept the mutual aid. We want to be able to have as much manpower as possible to get that power back on for all of your residents, and we know how important it is for so many Florida residents to be able to get back online. But you should prepare to have some time without power if you're somebody that's in the path of the storm. And by the path, it doesn't mean just in the cone, because there's going to be impacts that are going to be outside whatever the National Hurricane Center says is the path of the storm. There have been evacuation orders issued for people on coastal areas, barrier islands, low-lying areas. You still have time, particularly if in the northern part of the state, you have time to be able to evacuate. You don't need to drive hundreds of miles. You don't need to try to outrun the storm. Just get to higher ground, get into a safe structure, ride out the storm, then you can go back to your place. But in some of these areas, like a Cedar Key, some of these others, along the Big Bend, you're talking about really, really significant storm surge potential. I mean, this is similar 10, 12 plus feet of storm surge could happen in some of those areas. And the storm surge is not something, you're not going to win that battle if you decide to stay behind for that. You run away from the water and then you hide from the wind. And so in Florida, if you get away from where the surge is going to hit, most of the structures that we have, particularly things that have been built in the last 20, 30 years, those are going to be fine for a Category 3 storm. And so you can hunker down there on higher ground where the storm surge isn't going to be a threat. But if you're putting yourself, if you're hunkering down in an area that could get hit by 10, 12 feet of storm surge, that is a life-threatening situation. And we saw that with Hurricane Ian, just how massive the storm surge was. So you are going to see parts of the coast, probably in the Big Bend area, that is going to have really significant storm surge. We actually anticipate the National Hurricane Center to increase their estimates for the storm surge, particularly in the Big Bend, from where it was this morning. So please be advised, you've got time, you've got the ability to do. I know all these counties have opened up shelters. You can go stay with friends, family. I know there's deals on hotels. You still have time to do that if you're in this Big Bend area, but time is running out very, very rapidly. We are working with counties to make sure they have the resources they need to be able to help their residents weather this hurricane. We've had more than 450 active missions. We've fulfilled or will have those fulfilled sometime today, all 450 of them, and I want to thank the Florida Division of Emergency Management for doing that. We're now up to 1.1 million gallons of fuel that is on standby to be able to mitigate any fuel interruptions, and sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. We'd rather be safe than sorry, so that fuel is there, and that can be deployed as needed if there is an interruption in fuel. We have all 8 urban search and rescue teams from the state of Florida are activated and ready to go. Hopefully they're not going to have anything to do. Hopefully everybody got out of town and there's not, who are in these low-lying areas or in the very vulnerable areas, hopefully there's not a need for rescues, but we assume that there will be, and they're going to be there, and they're going to do their thing, which they do very, very well. We have a lot of assets available. We have 5,500 National Guardsmen. We have Rotary Wing assets. We have Riverine assets. All of that is ready, locked and loaded to be deployed as needed. We have deployed almost 250 Starlink internet devices, and we have over 500 staged that can be sent to areas that need it once the storm passes by. We have 3,000 staged and ready to deploy. We have more than 700 personnel, including over 220 cut and toss crew members, with more than 650 pieces of heavy equipment and trucks strategically placed across the state to prepare for cut and toss operations post-storm. That is going to be necessary. Hurricane Ian, because it was a more populated area, the amount of tree debris and some of the others on the road, while there was definitely some, is probably not going to be as much as this storm will be, because you've got a lot of wooded areas. You're going to see a lot of branches go down, and so we have people standing by to be able to help clear the roads, and that's important just for pedestrian traffic, but also important for emergency response traffic. So that's something that's going to be really, really important. Once the storm passes, or once you lose power, if you use a generator, please use the generator appropriately. You cannot run the generator in your home. You can't run the generator in your garage. You can die from carbon monoxide poisoning. It's got to be outside your house, 20 feet away from doors and windows, and the exhaust needs to be pointing away from your house. So please use that appropriately. There's obviously a need for power generation in these circumstances. We understand that, but make sure that that's being done outside and that there's not exhaust coming into your house. We're going to be heading back after this to Tallahassee to continue with preparation efforts. In the meantime, we'll hear from Director Guthrie, Director Morgan, and CFO Jimmy Petronas.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your continued support and leadership in this disaster. I'm going to pick up where the Governor left off about generator safety again. Please make sure that that's 20 feet outside your home. I know that we've had a couple of times where we've had people think garages are open. That is not open. It needs to be out away from your garage as well. So please do that. Talked to the Chief Meteorologist for the Division of Emergency Management, Amy Godsey, just before I walked in the door. Again, reiterating what the Governor has already said, we do anticipate seeing some higher level storm surge values coming out of the National Hurricane Center here very shortly. Potentially a track back to the west a little bit more towards Jefferson County and potentially even over into Leon. But what I would ask people to do now, especially if they live on the river, its tributaries in the Swanee River Valley, of course, up here in Columbia County as well, please heed the warnings. If Shane or any of your local emergency managers ask for an evacuation, please do that. You are going to lose power. If you are power dependent, you have to have that. You're going to lose power. We are going to lose power. So please make sure you go someplace that has power that can help you out. I'm not going to talk about how Columbia County needs to handle that. We do have on our website right now at floridadisaster.org/SNR. That's S as in Sam, N as in Nancy, R as in Romeo, SNR. That's our special needs registration, but we are getting into a window where we're going to have to go direct with counties versus us getting that information and making sure it gets down to the county level. So I'll let Shane obviously talk about how he does that here in Columbia County. But again, if there's a doubt, call your local emergency management agency and then listen to your local emergency management official as we move into these next few hours. As soon as the disaster is passed, again, all of the state's resources and all the state emergency response team, the 30-plus agencies that we have, plus all of the mutual aid that is coming from all over the United States, will be ready and quickly responding to it, to include even in the overnight hours. So please stay safe. Please heed the evacuation warnings. Thank you so much, Governor, for all you do for us.
Okay, Shane.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I just want to reiterate what they were talking about. If you do have issues such as you're a special needs patient, you can call in. Our citizens information number is open and active. We opened it at noon today. That number is 386-719-7530, and we can help you get registered for the special needs shelter if that is something that you are wanting to take advantage of and be a part of. The shelters will open at 6 o'clock. We have 5. We have the one special needs shelter, which will be Westside Elementary School. Then we have some community centers. We have the Richland Community Center that will be open, the Winfield Community Center, and also the Westside Community Center. And we will have Fort White High School open on the south end of the county as well. But thank you all for the support from all the agencies here in the room, the support I'm getting from the Division of Emergency Management already, just 2 days basically into this event. But everybody, please heed the warnings, stay safe, and we're preparing for the worst but hoping for the best. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, Jimmy Petronas. Yeah.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin Guthrie, I was talking to him in the car. He hadn't even had a honeymoon yet. So thank you for your dedication to the citizens of the state of Florida. Look, just as we saw with Hurricane Michael and Hurricane Ian, these storms can be unpredictable. They can change at the last minute. The storm surge that the governor and Kevin have alluded to, you can't run from water. You can't. You just it's too dangerous. There's no structure that can survive the type of surge a storm like this can put out. So the life-threatening surge is something that I really want to just heed on and listen to the evacuation orders by your local officials. As we get into the recovery, you're going to have predators that are going to pre-stage outside those affected areas. And I'm telling you, Mark Hunter and his folks do an amazing job of keeping you safe. But these folks are going to approach you at your doorstep, and they're going to offer to remove trees off your house. They're going to offer to provide you services before the storm and after the storm. I'm just going to let you know, if you feel comfortable giving a total stranger cash at your doorstep, you might as well be setting it on fire, because that's what you're doing. You're not going to be able to get any restitution, any reimbursement back from your insurance company with those type of transactions. Just understand, people that come out immediately after the storm, a lot of times are not of the best intentions. They are going to seize that opportunity to take advantage of you because you're vulnerable. Whatever you do, do not sign anything. You're going to have folks that are going to want to provide services to you, and they're going to say, just sign this document. You may be signing a contract that now is obligating you to services where they're going to charge you whatever they want. So understand, signing something immediately after the storm, you need to get your facts straight, make sure you understand what your rights are. If you have damage, you want to call my office at 1-877-MY-FLCFO, your insurance agent, or your carrier. As long as that's the first call you make with damages to one of those 3 numbers, you're not going to be taken advantage of. I can promise you that. What you've got after the storm is a need to get those assistance dollars out. We will be setting up villages all over those affected areas and helping people get that rapid dollar in their hand. But I just don't want anybody to come in between you and your dollars that you're owed from the insurance company. You still got time right now. Take out, we're a smartphone society. Get your phone and go walk around the outside of your house. Shoot a video of your house, the fact that the house looks good, that there's no trees leaning on it, there's no broken windows. And then inside your house, take pictures of everything. Take pictures of your wall coverings, your floor coverings, what's on your bookshelves. Because now what's going to happen, if you do have damage, your insurance company's going to say, all right, what was damaged? You're not going to remember, but if you have those photos, you can reflect on those photos and make that inventory to file your claim. You'll also have that photographic evidence on the outside of your house that shows this is what my house looked like on Tuesday. It was hit on Wednesday, and on Thursday you've got this really cut and dry photo evidence of what the house looks like. When you give it to the insurance adjuster, they can show and prove that the damage was caused by the storm. All that's just going to streamline the claims process and make it that much easier to ascertain what damage was caused by the storm and what is truly the liability of the insurance company to pay you off. So again, understand all of that. We're going to have our fraud teams out there. The sheriff and his teams are going to be working around the clock to keep you safe. But please, use some common sense. If it's too good to be true, it usually is. And when you see one, thank a lineman. Oh, lineman. I told people earlier today, you know, not all heroes wear capes. Our linemen wear hard hats. And with the efforts with FP&L, with Duke, our municipalities, our co-ops, all working together collectively, please understand you make their jobs a lot easier when you listen to what our elected officials tell you to do. Down lines are going to happen. Trees are going to fall, just like the governor said. And you know what? Sometimes it's going to create an event that you can avoid. Please use some common sense and heed those warnings. Governor, thank you for your leadership. Understanding we're going to have urban search and rescue teams from all over the United States staged to hit the road immediately afterwards, and they're going to be going door to door to check on the life and safety needs of those that didn't heed the warnings. I would much rather, like the governor said, I would much rather them not have anything to do other than check the box that there was nobody in the house. So please, thank you for being so cooperative and understanding. We live in paradise. Sometimes Mother Nature likes to show up and give us a haymaker or two, but I promise you we'll get through all this together. Thank you, sir.
Great. We've also are in the process, and it may have already been transmitted, but it will be today if it hasn't already, requests of the federal government for a major disaster declaration, and it's our belief that that will be approved based on our conversations with FEMA. So we appreciate that. That'll obviously help on the back end as we do things like debris removal, which is going to be something that's going to be really, really necessary given the path of this storm. And once the storm hits, just to remind everyone, be very, very cognizant of standing water, down power lines. There's going to be a lot of hazards out there as different things have been upended, whether it's power lines, trees, all these other things. And so be very, very cautious. You know, don't drive your cars if there's a lot of flooding. Don't try to drive through that. It's not going to work out well for people that live in some of the barrier islands or the coastal areas that can be subjected to a lot of storm surge. These electric vehicles, when they get saltwater intrusion, can catch on fire, and those are very difficult fires to put out. So just be cognizant that we actually had examples of homes withstanding major storm surge during Ian, but then the EV caught on fire and burned the house down. So be wary of that. And it is not just like a normal fire. It's very difficult to put those out. So you still have some time, particularly if you're in the northern part of the state. But by this time tomorrow, this thing will have hit us, and that is going to happen. That's a certainty. Precisely where that eyeball goes in, I think there's still some uncertainty. We know the general possibilities, but it is going to hit and it is going to do damage. So take care of yourself, take care of your family, heed the warnings from your local officials, and just know you've got a lot of people that are staged and ready to go, from rescue to power to food and water to gas. That's there, and that'll be brought on target as necessary. All right, we got any questions?
Janice here for Channel 4, Jacksonville, Florida. Is there any specific concern, specifically in the northeast quadrant with the path, and I know it's going to shift a little bit over time, but for those that are living in mobile homes, we have a lot of people, specifically in Columbia County, but in other counties, that are rural, where they could be very vulnerable to that.
Well, I think so. That'll be decided on a county-by-county basis. There have been a number of counties that have issued evacuation orders, directives for mobile homes. And particularly as you look in the Big Bend and those coastal counties, there's a lot of mobile home communities, and you're going to end up being hit with a Category 3 storm, and so they have been directed to do. As you get further away from landfall, those are decisions that counties will make. I will say this, I was surprised at how resilient some of the mobile homes were during Ian. There was obviously damage, don't get me wrong. But you actually had some of the newer mobile homes that handled it decent for how strong that was. So I think that's something that the counties are going to have to make a judgment on, and then individuals will have to make a judgment on. But clearly, if you end up with tropical storm force winds in Northeast Florida or even a Cat 1, there are some of the newer manufactured housing that would be able to likely withstand that. How you do when you start getting into a major hurricane, that may be something different. So I think it's just people should just listen to their local county emergency managers and heed the warnings that were there. But there have been a number of directives issued in the Big Bend region for people in mobile homes to evacuate to shelters, friends' houses, hotels, and et cetera. All right, well, we'll have more updates later tonight from the EOC in Tallahassee. Thanks, everybody.